Welcome to CaFae Convos. I am C. Emilangi. The C stands for Chris or Christina. Choose whichever. I do not care. And today I am joined by Ben Alderson, an incredible queer fantasy romance author whose books I have not read because I'm aromantic asexual and I need to be in a very specific mood to read that. Ben, introduce yourself.
I get it. Hello, my name is Ben Alderson. I am the author that kind of broke into the author sphere writing queer fantasy. I've since kind of jumped into my comfortable horror boat and paranormal. And basically my goal as an author is just to turn every popular trope, theme, genre super gay. Like that's what I'm on the earth for. So yeah.
Be gay, do magic.
Exactly.
Wait, so like you said your comfort was in horror and paranormal, but like all of your stuff is fantasy. Like you've got your series of fairy tale retellings, and then there's like also that fairy series that you have, and you've only recently started going into horror to my knowledge anyway.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So for me, really, like I've always incorporated horror, usually body horror, into fantasy stuff because I like to make it gruesome story. But I am a humongous lover of horror as a genre in fiction, movies, whatever you want it to be. Apparently, like if you enjoy horror as an adult and like can watch it alone, it means that you had a really stressful childhood and you watch it now to like control your stress levels. So that's me. So I if I'm not writing or doing something, I am watching a horror film or like indulging in something horrific.
So I mean, it's just funny because I'm a huge fantasy author. Like that's my genre of comfort. But my first debut novel was science fiction. So everyone thinks that I'm huge into sci-fi. And I'm like, I mean, I like science fiction. It's totally fine. It's just not my genre of choice because I fell asleep during all of my science courses in grade school. It is.
That's one genre I will never touch. So like, I know really? I just said I'm going to make everything gay. But science fiction, it for me feels like this giant behemoth thing. And I just feel like I don't have the brain capacity to do science fiction. So,
I mean, speaking as someone whose science fiction novel did get nominated for an award, it's like you can be very light with the science. Okay. Like the science can be a suggestion. Like anyone with any knowledge of genetics and biology and is going to take one look at my novel and go, yeah, there's no way. There's no way this could, like, I'll grant you the weird geography of the planet with the two moons and the ring and the week-long tides of a freshwater ocean. So that way I didn't have to come up with any other way for people to survive with saltwater or whatever. But like, at the end of the day, there's like, as long as it doesn't have to be like extraordinarily accurate. It just has to be somewhat plausible. Okay. Like, yeah. Maybe, yeah. I guess, if you squint.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is just me being an American. We all have such terrible education.
Well, I did science in A levels in the UK. It's A levels. I think that's like the end of high school before university, which is your college. So I got like an A level in biology, but I'm traumatized. I think if there was I have got this idea floating in my head for like almost a post-apocalyptic. No, it's post-apocalyptic, but it dabbles in this idea of like drug testing and people turning into superhumans. If that's science fiction, then I will be writing it. But
sort of, but post-apocalypses are kind of their own thing because like you've got the nuclear post-apocalypse, but you also have zombie post-apocalypse, which would never. Yeah, exactly. And it's like that's totally fine. Like so, it's technically science fiction, but it's also like the least scientific of this. It's usually the least scientific of the science fictions. Like it's not. It's
perfect for me.
Not really considered sci-fi, so to speak.
Right. Well, if I was ever to do a sci-fi, it would be that version where it's like on the cusp, hardly not even sci-fi. That would be my kind of thing. So, but no, horror is. I've always wanted to write horror like properly, but I think it was a confidence thing. And I also, and you may relate, I'm not sure, but I found myself getting in a hole where I don't like expectations, whether they're put on by myself or where I might think other people are putting them on me, even though they're not. So when I wrote so much fantasy, I got to this point where I was like, this resistance of like, I don't want to write fantasy. Like, I want to write something out. Like, I want to do something out of the box. I want to challenge myself, but also like, I don't want to keep doing this thing that I'm expecting myself to do because I think it's what works. Because
you don't want to get yourself into the rut.
Yeah, the rut. So I was like, I've got this horror thing. I went on a family trip specifically for my book, The Haunting of William Thorne, which came out a couple of weeks ago. I went on this family trip and it was to this like really spooky manor house down by the coast. And I was just in this house and I was like, oh my God, this house could be a book. And from there, it just progressed. But for me, I don't get scared easily at all. Like I'll watch the horror films alone. I'll do the ghost hunts. I will play with Ouija boards, whatever, you name it, I'll do it. So all
my fans are not going to like that. I tend to attract the witch talk crowd.
Well, no, I do consider myself pagan. Like if we're going to go there. So I will only do it in specific scenarios. Like I don't just go play around. You don't play around.
Okay, so you're and I'm personally I'm a Buddhist, but I'm skeptical. Like I don't believe in fairies or ghosts or anything like that. I need the actual, like, give me actual something I can see, hear, touch.
Yes.
Actual evidence, please, and then we'll discuss it. It's one of the reasons why I got out of Christianity. But it's like one of those things where it's just like I understand that it is a lot of people's actual beliefs at the same time. So it's like you be respectful about it. So do I believe that a Ouija board is actually going to summon a ghost? No. Am I going to touch a Ouija board? Also, no.
Yeah. That's where my dabbling came in, because it's always that thing like, oh, don't do it. But I went on a ghost hunt with a professional group of people who take a tour around a building and they have different places set up and they taught you how to do it. And I very much like included it in my book, but like almost like a step-to-step guide of how you are to do it. If you were going to do it safely, etc. Except the characters.
I love it when you can like actually do a real life thing and put it in your book. Like it's one of those things where like if I can experience it for myself, I'll do it. Even if I have no interest, like, Olivia is an archer in Citadel because I did archery as a kid. And my grandparents taught me how to shoot guns like typical American.
Yeah.
And when I was doing Heart of Iron, there was the final scene takes place. We have this place in Minnesota called Black Beach, and it's on Lake Superior, this giant lake that's basically a freshwater ocean, and it's freezing. By the way, like we couldn't even dip our toes into it in July, and it's because of like I forget the exact. There was like some mining going on in the area, and they kept dumping these black rocks in the lake, and it really pissed off the fishermen. So there was this huge legal battle that the fishermen won. But because all those black rocks got dumped, they washed up on the shore. So the entire shores of the beach is black.
Right.
Like it's not black sand, it's black, little tiny black rocks, almost black granite. That's just on this whole beach, except for the red rocks of like islands and the boulders around it. It looks like something out of a fantasy novel.
Right.
And it's like, it took me, and I brought my brother and his girlfriend, like 3 hours to drive over there. I don't know how long that is in miles or kilometers. We go by time, not actual distance.
Yeah.
And I went there specifically because I have this giant fight scene with fairies and dragons and everything else. And it's like, would this actually work if I'm using a real place? Like I could make up a place, but I want it to be real. So would this actually work? Would the sniper be able to go up there and cause problems? Well, like how would that work? And we went there and I literally bled for my book because I ended up skinning my knee while climbing in my swimsuit. But it worked really well. And Lake Superior is one of those really eerie places because there's so many shipwrecks.
Oh, really?
That's how big these lakes are. Wow. They're called the Great Lakes for a reason. They're like the Edmund Fitzgerald, that song happened on Lake Superior. Wow. It's down there. And because Yeah, and because the water is so cold, the ships and the bodies are preserved, even in summer.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's kind of a freaky. It's beautiful, but it's kind of freaky the more you dig into it and the more you get into it. And yeah, I didn't realize just how much were of like, you know, ghosts and little horror stories like that existed in Minnesota, especially in the Twin Cities area, until I started doing a little digging of my own, just like, hey, if I'm going to be doing ghosts and fairies in this area, I should see if there are any actual folklore. Oh my God, there's a list.
Mm-hmm. It's so, I find it also when you get to that research point and you physically are touching something, being in a place, existing in a moment, it almost, it just makes writing it so much easier. Like I know, and I know that's so like ridiculous to say, because like if you know what you're writing, it will be easy. But like when you're being put into the head of a character, it just becomes like a breeze, where I can write other books and I'm like, I don't actually know how this character is reacting because he's being carried off by a angel with wings, and then there's a like, you know, it's a fun balance. But I do think it's really, I've really discovered recently my love for research with writing. I used to just let my crazy imagination go, and I'll do the odd bit here and there, but now I'm like, okay, I'm writing about the plague in 1666. Let me sink my teeth into everything I possibly can about the plague. What it was like. How did they even get food during that time? If somebody was in a house infected, how did they survive? Like all these different things. So research.
They didn't.
They
That's
didn't.
the neat thing. You don't.
But did they think they would? Like, what was their mindset? Like,
that's a weird thing, because like I have a literal bachelor's degree in history. I love history. I love historical research. And like, it's one thing to be like, you know, here's the tool, the archaeological nails of like their toys, their nails, their, you know, buildings, their whatever. But it's another thing entirely to be like, what was actually going through their mind? Because they didn't know anything about germ theory. They didn't have a concept of women's rights. They didn't have like they had so many superstitions that they just believed as straight up fact that we laugh at today. And it's just so like, that's the hardest part for me, even as a writer, is like trying to get into that mindset of just like, you know, like the, like when the Pilgrims first came over here to on my side of the pond, and were like, you know, they literally thought that the devil was in the forest. And I'm just like, my grandma's house is there. Literally, they lived in Massachusetts, Plymouth.
Yeah, where did it start? Like, who was the person that said there was the devil was in the forest? Why did they say it?
Yeah.
Did they because they think they saw something, or did they say it because they knew if they said it, they could control a bunch of people, blah, 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 blah. And it's like...
Exactly. And there's probably a lot of overlap, and it's like, you know, you got to wonder just how self-aware some of these people are when they're trying to maintain power. And it's just like, no, I don't want, like, you know, do they really believe that the women they're hanging are witches, or do they just want them to shut up?
I just recently went to a book signing for Grady Hendrix. He had a new book come out about witches, and I went with a friend because a friend really wanted to go, and I sat in that crowd, and he, for an hour, where I've been to book signings before, where they talk about the book and it's like an interview like this, and then at the end you get your book signed. He stood in front of this crowd with a PowerPoint presentation and gave a in-depth lecture on witchcraft, the witch trials, and broke it down into Maiden Mother Crone, and did this whole story without mentioning his book. And then was like, okay, I'm going to sign my book now. And honestly, I walked out of there like, I feel like I've just learned so much. It was the most fascinating book signing I'd ever been to. And I
need to take notes.
Yeah, no, seriously, like he didn't even mention his book once. He doesn't need to, because it's great. He had a sold out crowd. However, he got everyone there and he gave this incredible talk, and it was funny, but it was the history of it all, and it going into the witch trial stuff and why did they do it and all these. It was just brilliant. Like, it was actually brilliant. So I don't know how I conversation, but I love witches. So anything witchy.
I know, it's such a fascinating part of history. And like when I was doing the world building for Heart of Iron, I was going back a little and it's like, okay, what did they actually think witches did? And it's like, well, what part of history and what part of the world? Because literally every single culture in the world across time has had some idea of this is magic, this is a witch or a wizard. They just called it by different names and had totally different methods to it. And it's just like that is a never ending rabbit hole. Like I thought just researching the history of fairies was just insane because of like you're going through the entire history of the continent of Europe since Rome, and that's insane. But no, try doing a history of magic, and it'll be like, oh, you're gonna do this until you die of age 90.
Yeah, literally, it's so in depth. It's wild, and it's like it's a never ending well. Like, all you can do is research and kind of almost make your own interpretation up of what was going on.
Exactly. It's great for writers because we get to cherry pick and be like, you know what, a wand from the ivory tusk of an elephant or of a hippopotamus tooth looks really cool. Let's do that.
The part of the research about the plague in 1666 in London was this tied to witches, and not that witches made the Great Plague, but the fact that the idea that you had a black cat meant you were a witch. People got rid of cats, which meant there wasn't enough cats to go around killing rats. So then the rats took over, and then
you got more plague because they're the ones spreading the plague. I'm not a cat person, but even I know you don't just kill cats.
No. I have a dog sleeping right next to me for the audio listeners. So yeah, I'm allergic to cats. So I feel like I'd be lousy at that. But yeah, it is fascinating.
Well, it's really interesting to see because it wasn't just the Christians of England, of Europe who were dealing with the plague, was also being dealt with by the entire Muslim caliphate at the time. And their response to the plague, obviously they prayed for relief and like, hey, God, please stop. But in their minds, it wasn't a divine punishment. It wasn't something that we have control over. It's like, this is just something that God is putting us through for his own reasons, and we just have to endure it. So they had a much healthier, arguably, reaction to it. And that ended with a lot fewer people being executed because their whole worldview was just so different from their neighbors. And it's just so fascinating to me with that. And, China had their own take on it. Like it's so cool.
It's so cool.
So we actually just blew one of my questions out of the water because I did some prep for this and I'm trying to be professional and organized. Which was, most of your books are fantasy. Your latest is very different, being horror romance. I guess my next question, and this may make me sound like a total noob, but I've seen your books described as both fantasy romance and romantasy.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Is there a difference? And what is it?
So for me personally, I think romantasy is where the romance is leading the story. And then fantasy romance is where the fantasy comes first and the romance comes second. It's like, it's not what's driving the book.
Oh, okay.
I personally would say my books are fantasy romance because I'm a sucker for a plot. I also, with my love of horrors, which ties in very neatly, I read thrillers all the time. Like if I'm reading, I'm probably reading a thriller. I like to write my books like thrillers. I appreciate a plot twist. I appreciate 16 plot twists and red herrings everywhere. So I think mine are fantasy romance because there is the romance you could literally take out and there would still be a whole series. My Darkmourn series leans more romantasy because I wrote them from the perspective of, okay, it's about two guys getting together and these things are happening around them. But it's on the cusp because again, there's plot, and if you took the romance out, they would be boring or more boring. But there's plot there. So my horror is there's been a lot of like genres or tropes bounced around for it, but personally to me, it said gothic horror. There is a love story in it, but it's certainly not a romance. There is no like amazing happy ending. It's a gothic romance, gothic horror, sorry, because it's got those elements of yearning and those kind of those calm, soft moments, but ultimately it's a horror. So expect a horror ending, you know, expect something that's going to leave you feeling a little bit shook or whatever. So it's been interesting marketing that horror book, because I worry so much when the term romance gets flipped around with it, because I know how the story goes, and I just would not going happily ever after, because that's what I think a romance should be. You end with a happily ever after, you know, whatever.
Yeah, ideally. It's interesting because like when The Witcher Trades with Death was coming out earlier this year, a few people were marketing it as a romance, and I'm just like, no, it's not. Like, yeah, there's a romantic subplot and she does get laid, but it's like, that's like 10% of the plot. The rest is her trying to fight off an empire. Please don't call it a romance. So as an author, I totally get that, but it sounds like your horror book is a perfect October read, honestly, especially for those who like maybe aren't really like, who want their horror with the side of romance.
If anyone has watched The Haunting of Hill House or The Haunting of Bly Manor and thought, I love this, I want these vibes in a book, I feel like that's what I wanted to put into The Haunting of William Thorne, which I know the name is very similar, but the name of the book makes sense. But yeah, it's that kind of, it's modern setting for the majority of it. But it's got that very kind of like spooky yet almost cozy vibe, but also not cozy whatsoever. It just gives you that kind of autumn, like chill, the haunted house, the ghosts, the things are moving around. It's a wild ride.
It's interesting because I have seen The Haunting of Hill House and its sequel series. And one thing that struck me about Hill House was that the first half of the series was terrifying. Like, it was genuinely scary. But once you get the flashback of like how this is not a spoiler because it happens in the pilot episode, but the youngest sister dies. And then once you get the flashback of just how that happened halfway through, excuse me, it's still creepy, but the second half I found was a lot more melancholic and sad.
Yes.
It was like, it wasn't like, we still had some creepy ghost moments, but for the most part, it was like, here's a tragedy. Like, it sucks that these people died, and it sucks that they died the way that they did. But also, here's a silver lining, sort of.
I feel like that's what I love about horror, because horror isn't necessarily the ghosts. Mike Flanagan does this a really amazing thing where he's like, I'm going to hook you in because this is a horror. And look, there's ghosts in almost every shot. See how many you can spot. But then you realize that the horror is in the human experience. And a lot of us go through, especially in this current climate, a horrific time and a horrific experience. And to me, that's horror. There are things people are going through which they shouldn't need to go through. And that's horror. And that's what I did with The Haunting of William Thorne. It was this, I have never written a book about sexuality in terms of it being a plot point. It's always, my books are queer normative normally. Usually there's labels. It's just
it's just like it's accepted in the world.
Exactly.
Like, it's just like, this is Lord such and such. He likes dudes. Deal with it.
Exactly.
The bigger problem is that he's a vampire.
Exactly. But with The Haunting William Thorne, it was really important to the story for me that I actually wrote about the gay experience, specifically the contrast of being gay in a time like 1930s, which is where that we have some scenes set, and modern day. And I actually wrote this book because my uncle William, who the book's named after, William Thorne, he is a gay man and he's obviously older than me. And his coming out experience was really, really horrific. And my coming out experience was not. I had the easiest time coming out to my family and my friends. I wrote this book to study that difference and to basically write a letter to be like, guys, For those who have an easy time now, remember the people that came before it who made that path easier for you or for me. So it's a bit of a love letter to my uncle to be like, I understand that the people that did not accept you and the people that were not loving to you in a moment you deserved love were the same people that when I came out, opened their arms and embraced me because they learned through your experience, which is a shame. So that's why I wrote the book.
It is a shame. And, you know, it's our rights are very fragile. Like, you really do see that, especially in today's world. And I've been hearing some stuff about the UK, but I've been kind of busy with the crap going on over here of just like, you're literally seeing the clock wind back. And it's just like, you know, this is not going to end well, guy. Like, whatever. And it's just
such a cycle. It's such a cycle. It's almost predictable. Like it's certainly happening over here. It's probably going to get worse. Of course, trans people and non-binary people are being struck down by a government currently that is supposed to protect them.
Yeah.
But everybody needs a villain, and they're the villains this time round, and it's just awful. And obviously it's happening over there in America. It's happening here currently in the UK, but we have another group that are coming up that are going to be even worse. It's just a hellscape. It really is terrible, which I think writing these queer normative worlds for people to escape to is fantastic. So they have a place to go where they can actually just exist and be safe. But who knows if others are going to be allowed to be around.
I know, right? When I'm writing my stuff, like, I love writing queer normative stories like my Blackwing novella series and The Witch Who Trades with Death. Those have very queer normative settings. Like the fact that the paladin Genua is an aromantic pansexual does not raise any eyebrows at all. The fact that the mentor figure, Netta, in The Witch Who Trades with Death is dating a person who is non-binary also doesn't raise any eyebrows at all. And those are really, really fun to do. And I do believe that they're really important, but I also think it's equally important to tackle it from the other side, which is, you know, no, here are all of the social issues in history with being queer, with being a woman, with being disabled, a person of color, you know, autistic, whatever. And it's like, I call them Mulan stories because, you know, you got the Disney movie Mulan, which is explicitly about this woman overcoming the patriarchy in her own way. And they are very important and powerful, but we can't have every single story be that. Like, we just want to, sometimes we just want to exist in a story without it being justified. And sometimes we want to literally punch the patriarchy in the face.
Yeah. Or ride a dragon and burn them down.
Exactly. Exactly. I did want a lot of your promotion, the social media promotion that you do for your books is, excuse me, got a bit of a rough throat going on today. I'm sorry. A lot of your social media promotion is like, you know, someone saying to you, like, you can't write Persephone and Hades as a queer romance. You can't make The Little Mermaid gay. You basically, people saying like, you know, you can't make this story gay. You shouldn't write queer stories. How often, like, has that come from actual personal experience, or is that just seeing the general hellscape that is the internet?
It's come from personal experience. So I've been on social media since 2011. I first joined BookTube back in 2011, and I have been around since, like whatever social media site I've been on. When I first started writing, especially around the COVID time when BookTok really kicked off and then Instagram really kicked off because they were in competition. Right, yeah. I would get, not always, it would very much depend on where the algorithm was putting me. And I can tell if I'm going to the right people or wrong people. I used to get flooded with comments and I would just be sat there, 1, devastated, 2, deleting stuff, 3, adding more words to my muted box. And I think one day I replied to one of the comments, or you can do the reply with a video, and I did it directly from there. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not hiding from this anymore, because I'm not like, what am I doing? Hiding from it, I feel like shit. I'm gaining nothing from it. And I made a video responding to it, and I got a lot of attraction, and I started reaching the right people. So ever since then, it was just part of my marketing tool. If I saw a comment that was absolutely heinous, I would just use it. And whether that was a direct response or a condensed version, whatever, a general theme, that would be something I would do. So I've had it before with the Hades and Persephone one in particular, where people are like, well, that's wrong because Hades would never fall in love with a man. That's wrong.
Everyone knows the ancient Greeks were famously super straight.
They were super straight. Yeah.
Not a gay bone in that body.
It's funny. The Little Mermaid one made me laugh the most because when I did my research, I found out that the author wrote
the actual author was gay. It's a love letter to a gay, to another guy.
And I was like, I got the best response for this. But the people still argue it. People still argue something that is a fact that, well, that's just a theory. Other than I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, thanks for commenting and boosting the video, I guess. But I my whole life experienced homophobia in certain places, whether it was school. I had to move schools when I was younger because of homophobic bullying. I was smacked in the face with a branch from a tree. I know that sounds absolutely wild, but I was going to the drama block. I stopped doing things I loved because I wanted to fit in, and I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because there are a lot of people out there that may not have as thick of a skin as I do now. And if I'd seen people responding in certain ways back when I was younger, maybe I would have felt a little bit more confident. So I suppose that's kind of why I want to do it. But also in the war of the algorithm, you need to get people talking. And sometimes people prodding their hair a little bit and getting them to comment some nasty stuff. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, I've got no hate on this one. What the hell am I going to film tomorrow? You know? But yeah, I don't know. It's just, I will rarely delete things now because I'm like, because I'm just going to get more anyway. I'm just wasting my time. So if anything, if I'm in the mood, I'll make a video about it. My favorite was the Hades and Persephone book, which I marketed for months and months and months.
Oh, the DNF too gay review. God, that is why I have that book and it's sitting on my bookshelf waiting for me to be in just the right mood. Like as I opened this interview with being aro ace, obviously there are plenty of aros and aces who do love reading romance and erotica and all that stuff. But for me personally, there's a pretty big disconnect. It's why I'm not like, I tend to roll my eyes whenever a romantic subplot pops up unless it's really well written. So I have to be in a very specific, like the planets have aligned type of mood before I can really, really dive into a book that is much more romance heavy. And it's usually after I read a lot of heavier stuff, like, you know, thick histories and biographies and tragedies and hard sci-fi fantasy stuff like that. It's like, no, I need a break. Whereas something fluffy or something silly or just something that is like, here are two people falling in love and they're both big gay disasters with magic. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. I actually, as much as I push the romance in a lot of my marketing, my books are considered quite low spice because there are very few scenes. Because I don't particularly like reading spice either. Not a big fan. I'm not ace or aromantic, but it's just not something that I like would pick up. I very much skip certain scenes actually because I'm just like, I don't need to read it.
Yeah. It's not really relevant to the plot.
If it works when I'm writing, if it works in a moment, I will add it in. I'll never fit it in because it needs to be there. So like, there's a lot of my books where people are like, I expected more. I released I'm a sucker for a slow burn. So I will write a slow burn and give you one sex scene towards the end. Yes, and that's it.
I hate insta-love. It's one of my least favorite tropes. So I very much appreciate a slow burn. I especially love friends to lovers, like that just makes a lot more sense to me. For me, like The Witcher Trays with Death, I thought because there's one sex scene that I wrote in there, and I don't want to say my editors bullied me into it. It was originally Fade to Black, but then my editors were just like, Chris, come on. Hannah deserves it. She's been through so much. She deserves to get laid on the page, so to speak, on screen. So I added it in, and I warned my fans that it's pretty spicy. Like, there's a very explicit scene. You could technically skip it, but it is kind of plot relevant. And all of my fans responded back like, Chris, this is one chili pepper. There's only one scene. And I'm like, but it's explicit. It's like, oh, no, it's very explicit and very well written, but like, we go by quantity, not quality.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
it. Exactly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. We must have had I wonder if we had the same editor for. Well, I had my run with the share publisher, Angry Robot.
Gemma from Angry Robot.
Okay, so I had Eleanor, and then I had Gemma, but obviously Gemma's just left now. So
I got promoted.
Yes, I didn't actually
She's getting that bag. I'm so proud of her.
Yeah,
gosh. I was so proud of her, but also kind of sad because she's such a great editor, and I love her. And like, I don't know if you heard, but Witcher Trace to Death, we suffered pretty big misprint actually, upon publication, where like the last 10 chapters or so just got totally scrambled. Like it was bad. And like at first, you get the first couple of comments or emails about it, and it's like, oh crap, go to your bookstore, see if you can get it returned.
Yeah.
But then when you get more and more and more, and it's like, oh shit, this is a problem with a capital P. And I immediately told Gemma what was up, and she like personally handled it herself, like total responsibility. Here's the problem. Here's how we fix it. Anyone who has this misprint, you can tell Angry Robot as a whole, or you can email me directly, and we will get you a fixed copy. Yeah. Apparently they outsource their printing, I think, to Penguin House, I think. They
do,
And so they're the ones who left. That Penguin House was the one who really goofed up there. And Gemma was not happy. I'm like, oh.
No, because they're still quite a small press. And when things like happen like that, it's massive for them. It's not, it's not we'll fix it. We've got the funds for it or whatever, which I'm sure they do, but you know what I mean? It's not Penguin paying for the fixing. So it's kudos to them for sure. But yes, no, I didn't get to work with Gemma, unfortunately. I was about to. I had Eleanor who left, and Gemma, and then now Gemma's left, so I was like, oh no.
It's your fault. Everyone you touch leaves Angry Robot bad.
My agent left agenting, and it was just like, in the space of this year, I've lost 2 agents and 2 editors. I was like, no wonder I had a mini breakdown last week, honestly.
You goddamn Brit.
Yeah, I know. Well, then one of the agents I did part ways with, so that was by choice. But 3 out of 4 is still like a chunky number. I was like, it was painful. It's been a painful year.
Yikes! And that's only right when your book's coming out too. Yikes!
I know. It's been a ruckus of a year for sure. But the things happen. They make what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah. So we do have one Patreon question. Tell my patrons ahead of time who I'm interviewing, so that way they have a chance to share any questions that they want me to ask. And if you want to be a part of my next interview, become a patron through the link down below. All right, the Patreon question is, when writing your stories, do you usually start with a plot and make characters to fit the plot, or do you have an idea of the characters and let them shape the world as you go? Basically, are you a planner or a pantser, and how does that work for you?
So I am a bit of both, but I lean more on the pantser side. I start with characters. So I will know the genre, and I will know the vibe, and I'll know the aesthetic of the world, and I'll know what I'm wanting to do. How I do it is uncovered throughout the writing process, but I always start with character. I'm like, okay, I have this character, and this is the problem. And I kind of go from there. My writing process is becoming more and more chaotic. I wish I could plot, but I will try, and it will change, So I will always have a guideline of at least 5 chapters ahead, 10 chapters ahead, always knowing where I'm going at the end, and it will change. And I don't know if that's because I work with so many plot twists, and I love the format of a thriller, that if I know what I'm about to write, I think the reader does too. So when I get to the end, I'm like, okay, how the hell can I fuck this up now? Let's twist it all up, fuck it up, and then fix it in the second round. So I am a bit of both. I am neither or. I am chaos in flesh, to be honest. I've had the
non-binary of writers.
honest, I've had the hardest time writing my current work in progress because I've just been chopping and changing, and then it's so chaotic. So then I'm actually going back to fix it before finishing, and It's been a nightmare, but yeah.
Yeah, no, for me, I am also a little bit of both, but I definitely lean more toward the planner side. Like I will plan out everything. I will create the whole world. And when I'm doing the world build, I'm usually doing the characters at the same time. I'll figure out the plot from that. And then I'll write a super detailed outline. And as I'm writing the book and following the outline, if something happens, like as I'm writing a scene and I'm going, oh, wait, this character would not do that, or it would actually be better if this happened, then I'll just go and I'll change my outline. So I have no problem changing the outline. I just still need the outline to be there. Yeah. If it's not, I'm like, I freeze. I can't.
Yeah, and I get it. I need to do that because what we said earlier, when you know what you're writing, it becomes so easy. And if I had a plot, I wouldn't have those days where I wake up like, what the hell am I doing today? Where do I pick up? And it's this annoying thing I have that I'm about to finish my 20th book that I still don't have a process. And I'm 20 books deep, and it's really frustrating.
I feel like such a noob.
No.
Is like my 5th book.
I've been publishing since I started 2016. So it's been a long ride with a brief break in between. But I am determined for the next thing I write. I need to plot because I can't do this anymore. In my head, it's all in my head, and I just find it hard getting it down. Like I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going, but sometimes for me, I just feel like if I plot too much, I will unintentionally make the twists obvious when I don't want to do that. And it's sometimes I like to be driven by the character, like in a moment, oh yeah, I didn't do this, or this would happen. But I'm a bit of both, really. That's the kind of short answer to the long-winded answer before.
I know, right? And like, it's one of those things where everyone's first draft just sucks balls. The first draft of everything is, it doesn't matter how experienced you are, how good you are, your first draft of any story is going to be terrible. And for me, like, I am just now realizing how difficult sequels are, because I'm working on the sequel to Citadel, Demon's Nest. And it's my first time writing like the second installment of something like that, like years after the first one's been published. And it's also my first time writing a novel under deadline. Because with Citadel, I wrote the book and then I found the agent and the publisher. So there was no deadline for that. But this time there's a deadline. Yeah. And I have a lot more sympathy for creators of sequels that flop, because it's very hard. I did not expect it to be this difficult, and I don't like it.
I don't know. My tip for sequels, and again, I'm no expert whatsoever, but for me, I almost treat the sequel as a standalone, and I'm like, okay, what's the issue for this book? And then you have the overarching issue that's going to take you across the whole thing. But then I like to have a mini villain in each book to make it exciting, that ties into the bigger picture. So I've stumbled across that myself. There is a new villain in Demon's Nest. Like Augustus, the governor of Citadel, is still a problem. Yeah. But he's in Citadel, and most of the characters are in the flooded forest away from him. So now I was like, okay, we need a chimeric equivalent of Augustus. We need someone close to home who's going to be causing them problems, because not every human is a villain, but not every chimera is a good guy. And creating that has definitely been a lot more fun. And like I did send a polished draft to my editor at Blackstone Publishing. And this was after getting it sensitivity read, because I do all the sensitivity readers. And her response to it was basically, this is good. We definitely could use some improvement, blah, blah, blah. And she started the conversation by saying, like, it does not need a full rewrite. By the time we finished our meeting, it needed a full rewrite. Oh, I
can't tell if she lied to me and just let me make the conclusion by myself, or if she genuinely would have been okay with less of a rewrite. I don't know. I'm just a perfectionist sometimes. It's hard to tell.
The professional process after you go from self-published, where you are very much in control of everything, to suddenly working with a team of an agent and multiple editors, I find it so stressful. Like I need someone to tell me I'm a good boy before they like slap me and say fix it. And sometimes you don't get that emotion in publishing. You know, every time I get like a copy edit back from a copy editor, especially with Angry Robot, I was like, I hope they like it. They don't tell you if they like it. They just fix the issues and the job's done. And I'm like, no, I need to know.
We need the compliment sandwich, all right? Like you can have as much critical meat in that sandwich as possible, but we need some thick slices of compliment bread, okay?
Yes, please. I need it so bad. It's so silly, but it's definitely, that's been the biggest learning curve for me getting traditional, is that the multiple voices around a piece of work. Because for me, I'm always like, well, of course that editor is going to tell me to change that. But then if you gave it to that editor, they'll tell me to change other things that editor didn't tell me to change. And then, so in my head, I'm like, well, everyone has a different idea. So why can't it just be mine? And then I'm like, well, I have to trust the professional. And I think that's why it's so important to work with an editor that gets you.
Yeah.
The way you work and stuff, and
your vision and all that. Just being a hybrid author is like, it's one of those things where, like, with Citadel, I knew I wanted it to be trad published because that was my debut novel and I had no idea what I was doing. And it's a weird one too. It's telepathic telekinetic wolves with wings on an alien planet. It's like, I need to make sure that the world building is actually worlding and the characters are charactering, please. And then with The Witcher Trees with Death, it was like, I'm just throwing this, you know, it's like a thing, like juicy steak to my ravenous fans to get them off my back a little bit while I focus on the stuff that they actually want. So if other people want to edit and do the cover art and all the stuff for that, great, awesome. But I'm not letting them touch CaFae Latte. That's self-published with people that I hire because, like, I have no idea how many books are going to be in this series. Yeah. And I don't want it to be like condensed or drawn out because of publisher numbers. It's so queer heavy. And in this growing political climate, I don't want to have to be, you know, my editor or publisher to have the legal right to say, no, you can't make this. We own this copyright now. So we're not, you can't have Jennifer Charles be non-binary. They have to be cis. I'm just like, I would rather die. Yeah.
The hybrid author thing is, it's wild. And the best though, like I love self-publishing, but I think after experiencing traditional, and self-publishing for so long, I got to a point where I was writing books for people because I think that's what they wanted, rather than writing the books that I wanted to write. And that's ever since William. And I've got a few other books that are like in the works or have just come out or are coming out down the line. They're all stories that I'm like, oh my God, I've always wanted to tell this type of story. I've got more horror in me. I've got paranormal horror. I've got the dystopian. I've got Greek gods because I'm Greek too, not fully Greek. Half my family are Greek, and I grew up on the Greek myths, and I just want to keep doing.
I grew up on Percy Jackson, which is basically the same thing.
Percy Jackson. When I got into reading and I read Percy Jackson, I had a full-time job, and the final book, this was when I was on YouTube, and I used to get sent the books by publishers, and they sent me the final book. And I left, my home was half an hour away, half an hour there, half an hour back, and I had an hour lunch. I drove home, picked the book up, drove back to work just to hold it. I couldn't even read it on lunch break because I used it all up. The way I need to reread those books is...
I know. I'm a little behind. I haven't read The Chalice of the Gods or the Curse of the Triple Goddess yet. The last one that I read was The Sun and the Star, which is the one that
read that.
Yeah, he is the one he co-wrote with a non-binary author. And like sometimes when it's always interesting, especially as an author, to read books that are done by multiple people, because especially if it's an author that you're very familiar with and an author that you're not, sometimes you can tell, okay, this line is a Rick Riordan line, or this paragraph, this chunk is not rich. This is the guy that I know why he brought it in, because it's centering two queer characters and their experience and their relationship. And he doesn't have a lot of experience with that. So he made the right call bringing this guy in.
Yeah.
It's really fun. And it is a good read.
Because I've just done the original Percy Jackson series, and then I did the Heroes of Olympus series. I haven't done anything beyond there.
You haven't done Trials of Apollo yet?
No.
Dude. Oh, no. God, you're going to love it.
I know.
The Trials of Apollo, and also the Magnus Chase trilogy, which is Norse mythology that happens at the same time as Trials, and is also really good. The Magnus Chase is when he really starts playing around with openly queer and trans characters beyond Nico. Like Magnus, the love interest in the Magnus Chase trilogy is a transgender fluid child of Loki. And in the second book, when we're introduced to Alex, a lot, like she says 3 times at some point, introducing herself as trans, and like, I will decide what is masculine and feminine, blah, blah, blah. And it worried me a little bit, because it was like, okay, what else is in her personality? Like, she's got this, and she's got pottery and shapeshifting. What else? And then luckily, with the final book 3, he stuck the landing with that one. And we have like an actual full character relationship. Everyone else around him has really great things. They literally defeat the villain with the power of friendship. It's phenomenal.
I love it. I really will get into it. I'm such, like, there's mood readers, and then there's me, and I'm like the weirdest reader. Again, pressure, expectations. The second there's an expectation for me to read something, like if a publisher or somebody wants me to blurb, I'm like, I can't do it. And then like, I'll just do the opposite.
Ask the blurb. No one reads the blurb. Stop asking.
I know. It feels almost like this part of publishing, which used to be the publisher that used to reach out for the blurbs, and now it's fallen on the authors to do it. And do you know what? Like, a lot of us don't want to go to our friends and ask for the blurbs because we know everyone's busy, but then we have to do it because it's industry standards, and it's just like, I don't
honestly,
want to.
I really hope my publisher's not listening to this. I'll say, okay, yeah, sure. I'll come up with a list of people to ask us for blurbs, and I'll come up with a list, and then I just won't ask them. It's I've reached out for people with blurbs, and sometimes they'll say yes and they just never get around to it. And other times they'll say no, or sometimes they'll just ghost me altogether. And it's just like, and so I've had books published, Citadel, Witcher Trace with Death, Blackwing, Heart of Iron. None of them have blurbs, and they all sell very well. Yeah. So like, I think blurbs are dying, and they need to die faster.
I want my husband to blurb the back, or like a family member to be like, to the blurb it, or to have DNF 2 gay on it. Like, see, that yes. To me is what I want on a book.
Yes, give me like the 5-star review, and give me the 1-star review.
Yeah, that's what I love about Angry Robot, and I'm sure you've got it on the back of yours, but you know when they do the tags and file under tags on the back above the barcode, and you get to pick what you put? That was fun. I put sad gay men, wine and Ouija, love abides, decaying.
Just they didn't let me do that.
Have you got them on the back of yours?
No, not.
Are you sure? Have a look above the barcode. I feel like they put them on all of them.
I'm not seeing it. Oh, hold on. This is the arc, so I don't.
That's the arc. Yeah, get that nice hardback out and have a look.
Yeah,
in the meantime, I'll sing elevator music.
I'm not in my apartment. I'm in my parents' house, so I don't have that. But if they do have words with that, I didn't get to choose them. Maybe it's because that was my first book with them.
Well, sometimes they let you. Sometimes they choose it, or they're like, "Oh, what do you think about this?" or whatever. But I'm going to, as we speak, try and see if I can see it on Amazon, because sometimes you can see the book physically.
Right. So, yeah. What I was really proud of is the fact that the publisher's weekly review. They did The Witcher Trace, but no, it was Citadel. That's Publishers Weekly reviewed Citadel, and that was what made it to like one of the first things you see when you turn it around. And obviously, here's what the book is actually about. I wouldn't do that to readers of just like, it's a new classic, it's reimaginative, it's incredible. It's like, what's it about?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Although I rarely read the back of books. Like, I mean, probably never.
You don't read Blurb?
No, because I buy books based off what I hear people say, and I don't watch reviews, but I will hear people say, or I might see a piece of art. Again, it's vibe and mood. So if to me a cover looks like horror and I see a tagline that's like whatever, I'll buy it. I will very, very rarely read the back. I don't want to know what's going on.
Same to me, because like, yeah, I'll take other people's opinions into account, especially if we share a lot of favorite books in common. I'll take them into account, but like, I'll still read the back of it, and if it's something that's doesn't sound very interesting to me, it doesn't matter about the hype around it, I won't pick it up. I might try to like read the first couple of pages if there's a lot of hype around it, but like, no.
I will rarely buy a book off hype. I will buy a book off, because I don't watch reviews. Like, I won't sit and watch a video somebody talk about, because I used to do it and it triggers me.
Yeah.
So, and I don't like reviews as a whole. Like, I keep as far away from reviews, whether it's my books or other people's books, as possible. I'm not interested in other people's opinions on a book. But if they give me a vibe, or they're like best horror books and they show the covers, that's all I need. I'm like, I'll give it a go, because reading is so subjective. Whether they like it, love it, it doesn't matter to me, because I'll like it or love it. I don't really care. I will go off vibes. I will sometimes go off authors' personalities. If I think they're really charismatic and fun and great speakers, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read their thing. If I listen to a podcast and an author's talking, I'll be like, oh, they sound really fun. I'm gonna give that a go. I'm a very chaotic person. With writing, reading, everything, it's chaos.
Chaos gremlin. Yeah, no, it's one of those things where it's like, there are a lot of authors out there where it's like, I know them personally, or I've gotten really good vibes from them, but I just know I'm never going to be able to read their books. Like Stephen King, I've gone on record to say, like, I've tried and I can't read, because I just don't like his writing style. Ali Hazelwood is another one, because like she's so great, and like, she seems like such a good person. And like, you know, she uses her own publishing dates to like promote other authors, especially BIPOC authors. Yes. She does a lot of work for the community, and like, I'm probably never going to read one of her books, because it's just like,
I'll
like, it's not my vibe.
Like that. Like, I will go through stages. I have a whole shelf here which is just romance. Like, and at the time I loved it. Now the thought of reading it, I'm like, no, I'm not interested. I don't know really. I'm so in my thriller bag. I've been in it for about 2 years now. I can't get enough of thrillers. I don't even care if they're like, I can guess
if they're awful.
Yeah, like, I'm just like, as long as I'm not thinking about the stress and the world outside the book, I don't care. I will give you a 5 stars if you have successfully made me not think about my personal worries. Like, but I don't. I rate books, but I have an app on. It's an app I tell everyone about. It's called Reading List. You have no friends on. It's not public. It's just like a personal library thing for you. And on there, I will say, oh, I finished this, and I'll rate it for myself. But I don't use like Goodreads and things like that anymore. Like, I'm not on any of those. But I think
the reason why is like, you can't really consume much romance is because you've created so much romance. And I've noticed something about myself too. I used to voraciously read sci-fi and fantasy. Like, it was the only things that I read. And now that I create that content, both with writing books as well as the online stuff, CaFae Latte, I haven't picked up a sci-fi fantasy book in months. It's all been either history or literary fiction. Type of thing. And I think it's because like, when you spend so long creating a specific genre, at some point those specific cylinders just get fried and you can't consume it, or at the very least you cannot consume it the same way you're creating it. Because I can still, like, we just finished watching the first season of Alien Earth, which is science fiction, really good, by the way. If you are into the Alien franchise at all, you want to watch
The
Alien.
thing is, I've seen so many clips from the show, like I almost don't need to watch it now because I know how it ends.
They save the best part. It's not one of those things like they give you a lot of really good tidbits, but it's not like when you watch a preview and from that preview you can tell what the entire movie is. Like, no, you can get some of the stuff. You get like, I'm going to say a third of all the really good moments.
I've seen direct clips that people post on TikTok, like the ending.
Well, fuck that.
I'm an idiot. Like, that's me. I was doom scrolling last night on TikTok as you do, going, I really need to log off soon. It's nearly 9:30. It's nearly bedtime. And I scrolled out, and then a video came up of some guy holding my book. I was like, oh my God. My initial thing was, I checked if I was tagged, and I wasn't. And then I was like, oh, let me check the comments, see if I was tagged. And I saw a comment that wasn't necessarily too positive. I was like, shit, this is what I get for doom scrolling. I should have logged off my phone. So I just turned it off. I was like, God, the universe is saying, Ben, get off. Like, I was like, oh my God, I never get tagged in
Go
videos.
the fuck to sleep.
Go to sleep. Like, there's people on here talking about your book. You don't want to see it because I don't like seeing it. I don't like any being tagged in really any reviews. I like it 5-star, 4-star or below. I won't read them if I get tagged on them on Instagram. I don't know if you're the same. I will read art reviews, but once the book's out.
Yeah, like I'll do, like if I get tagged, I'll read and I'll, some, like, I guess it depends. With videos, I have a shorter attention span. If it's an Instagram post, I'll read that. I'll head over to Amazon and Goodreads maybe like once or twice a year just to like kind of see the overall star rating.
Yeah.
How's it going? How is this hitting the audience the way I want it to? But that's the extent of it. Like, I do believe that there needs to be active communication between authors and readers, because once that communication breaks, you don't have a fan base anymore.
Yeah.
But at the same time, readers and reviewers need their own space free of authors. And we can lurk a little bit, depending on the status of our mental health, but we don't have the right to butt in. And the longer you spend looking at your own reviews, the more you're going to want to butt in.
Yeah, I definitely just stay away. I will check Amazon. I will not go on Goodreads. But I will check Amazon, and as long as because Amazon and Goodreads, the difference between
they are very different. Yeah, Witch It Traced with Death has 2 totally different star ratings depending on where you're buying.
Mine are dramatically different depending on both things. So I just stick to Amazon and I'll check. I think reviews are really important at the beginning stages, but once the book's printed, especially in trad, it's different in self-publishing. We can fix things. We can, if there's errors, we can make those amendments. In trad, it's done. Once the book's printed, I'm like, great, it's all yours. Like, enjoy, have fun. Yeah. Love it. Like, I will comment and I will like and I'll repost your reviews. I'm probably just not going to read them because it's too much for me.
That's the thing. And it's like, I really love it when people review my stuff because it's free marketing. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why with Heart of Iron, I'm trying so hard to get everyone's Kickstarter copy out before the book actually comes out in like 2 weeks. So that's not going to happen. But already a lot of them have done it. A lot of them have read it, and they're getting a nice bit of hype going around the book, which is really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, beyond it's definitely a very thin line, and you have to tread very carefully about it. It's, I grew up because my mother is also an author. Cool. She's she's a romance author, New York Times bestseller, actually. Wow. Her pen name is Mary Janice Davidson, and her best series is the Undead series, about a secretary who gets fired, run over by a truck, and rises from the dead as Queen of the Vampires.
I'm literally Googling it as we speak. So what's
her generation? She's from the generation of authors that made the vampire sexy.
So what's your mum's name again? Sorry?
Mary Janice, one word, Davidson. And no, I have not read any of her stuff because she writes explicit romance, and I don't need to read a scene written by my mother as inspired by my father. I don't need that in my life. But yeah, no. So, but I grew up with, her being a writer, and I grew up with her dealing with reviews, both good ones and bad ones. And she would read all of the reviews. She still does. And if it was a negative review, she would this is back when, she was on Twitter. She would retweet the link or put it on Facebook and, adding the guy and say, hey, I'm sorry you didn't like the book, but thank you for taking the time to make this review so that other people with your tastes, kind of know to avoid it. Guys, check out this review, something to consider before you hit buy.
Right.
That's how she handled it.
Yeah.
And it worked really well because, she understands, like, what I do, art is all subjective.
Yeah.
And not everyone's going to like it, and that's totally fine. And so the best way to do it is, it's better to have a person not purchase your book because they know it's just not going to be for them for whatever reason, than to have them purchase the book and read it and be disappointed and leave a very bad review because they feel tricked or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Why reviews are very, very important. I just think as an author now, I don't want to be going and reviewing. I don't really talk about the books I read. I don't say what. I just don't feel that my voice is necessarily important. People aren't going to come to me because they want to know what I'm reading, what I think of the books I'm reading.
Yeah, we're the experts, right?
Yeah.
If you write books, you must read books, and you must read only good books, right?
Yeah, I went from being on BookTube and talking about books and being this bookstagrammer and book to now reading feels so personal to me because it's just like me in my room and it's me. And
exactly, you're doing it as a break. And also, these are technically our coworkers now.
Yeah, that's it, they're colleagues.
Exactly. So you don't want to if I end up, if and when I ever do get to the point where I'm reading your book, I'm gonna say that I hate it out loud is that just seems so mean.
And also,
but I don't want to. If I don't like it, I don't want to lie.
Yeah, it is what it is. The amount of times I read books that I'm like, oh, I don't like that, but that's just my opinion because there's plenty of people that love it. It's like whatever.
Exactly.
It doesn't. It means nothing. So it means everything. Exactly. It means nothing. It's like a personal thing. So
a lot of people ask me for queer book recs and BIPOC book recs. And I will say, well, N.K. Jemisin is really, really big, but I cannot get into her stuff. I have tried, but her writing style is just, I don't want to say it's weird. It's so ethereal is the best word I've used to describe it. And I don't like it. I respect it, but I ain't doing it. I can't. I'm sorry, NK. I'm sure she is crushed by the opinion of this random white girl in Minnesota who doesn't like her writing style. I'm sure it keeps her up at night.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. I think, as you said, it's the colleague thing, and I just want to work in a happy work environment, and for everyone. I want everyone to feel comfortable. So,
yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Ben, for joining me and yakking with me this afternoon. I guess for you it's evening because time zones. Blah.
Time zones.
I will have Ben's books and website linked in the description of this video as well as my own. Please do check him out. They look like really fun reads, and hope you won't know if I like them
because we don't say buts.
Yeah, I know. Oh God!
There's something for everyone, and there's something for people that don't want it. It is fine, whatever it is. If you want to be around for some crazy time, if you want to cry over a horror book or scream over some gay smut, then whatever.
Let me put it this way: if you want someone who's actually good and experienced at writing romance or romantic subplots, hit Ben's books. If you want someone who does not have that, read mine.
No, that's such a lie because I feel like I'm 20 books deep and I still suffer with imposter syndrome every single day. I genuinely believe I'm the worst writer in the world. I think nobody likes me and it is what it is. And that is the truth. So, yeah. I'm
going to stop recording now before we damn ourselves further.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks all.
Bye.
Bye.